We're going to bring up the subject about Trump here and what's going on with Trump right now. You know, the Republican National Convention that they had, and he's nominated for the position of president, and what that really has to do with Bible prophecy and end times. I'm going to get into that towards the end, because first I'm going to try to remind everyone of what it is that they already know, but the emails and information I'm getting from people that they're not really putting things into place. And I want to do that today if you'll allow me to. And then so this will help to understand what it is that Trump is actually doing at this time. God's prophetic time clock, remember? That's where we are. So let me just get right into Scripture if I can, folks, because I want to make this really, really simple. The disciples came to Jesus, and they asked him, they said they would like to know, came to him privately saying, "Tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the signs of thy coming and of the end of the world?" Let's go right to the end of the world and let's get that out of the way. Revelation 12, Revelation, the book of, right at the very end, speaks of a new earth being ushered in, because God has taken and thrown Satan into the center of this earth at a given time, right at the start of the millennial. Then at the end of the millennial, he releases Satan. Satan gathers up all his own that are still on the earth, and then God locks them all up into the earth. And then he ushers the earth out, and a brand new one comes in. That's not hard to understand. That's the book of Revelation right towards the very end. You want to read it. It just makes great sense. So the end of the world, that's one. But Jesus shows up two times. One of them is in the clouds at the beginning of the tribulation to take the church home. And then at the end of the tribulation, Jesus returns and puts his feet back on this earth. Matthew 24. We read this very clearly. So the end of the world and the times of Jesus showing up. Now, let's go. When? We need information saying that when is Jesus going to show up? But we also have to understand, due to Matthew 24, Jesus speaking, and it's verse 15, where he takes us over to Daniel. Daniel clearly tells us of the last 7 years of the 70 weeks of 7. 69 weeks have already taken place. Tribulation is that last 7 years. And so the Bible becomes really quite specific about this. And so we understand then that through Scripture and understanding, we're going to get into a Psalm 83, which is a prophet, and he discusses a time. Now you're going to see here, you know the time. Okay, so let's go right here where you guys can see this. It says, "For when thine enemies make a tumult, and they that have hated thee have lifted up their head. Okay. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, consulted against the hidden ones, hostages. They have said, Come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel be no more in remembrance. And for they have consulted together with one consent, and they are confederate against thee." And then he goes on to talk about who it is that he's going to take in Psalms. Asaph tells us who it is that's going to be, that God's going to eliminate. As we go on and we read Psalms 83, we realize an action of God eliminates the surrounding enemies of Israel. Edom, Ishmaelites, Moab, Hagarine, Gabal, Ammon, Elmech, Philistines, with the inhabitants of Tyre. All of these are areas of the tribes of Israel within Israel itself, the land of. So it's all surrounding Israel and the land of. Okay, so we understand now, okay, please, hopefully, that when this is seen to happen, okay, so let's go back again. When? Psalms 83, we just did that. Now, there's a specific time, remember I told you two, when Jesus shows up. One of them is going to be seen in 1 Thessalonians 4 towards the end in 5. Let's get over here to this. Right here, I want to do this quickly. I'm sure you guys remember all this, but let's go back over it again. Right here, Paul's talking about the rapture here. That's when Jesus shows up in the clouds and he gathers the church home. And here it is, right here, Paul is telling us very specifically, "But of the times and of the seasons, brethren, you have no need that I write unto you." So we don't know the day nor the hour, but we don't have to have that information if we know the seasons. And also, the Asaph, the psalmist, gets very particular about a certain time that Israel's seen in a great tumult. All right, right here, for you yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord comes in a surprise. And that's what this is. The Lord's not the thief. It's like as if a thief came and some were unaware. Those that are unaware will not escape. Those that are aware do escape. That's the rapture. That's the taking him up and bringing him home. For when they shall say peace and safety, here you've got it right here. Then sudden destruction. What's the sudden destruction? Go back to Psalm 83. God has an action that he's going to do. And folks, the Scripture's given it to us. We know when this is going to happen. We're here at that time. It's very possible that this could happen any time now. All right? But Paul tells us when they say peace and safety. All right? This is going to allow us then, let's see, what was I missing over here? What shall the signs be? Folks, Jesus gets quite particular. He says there'll be wars and rumors of wars, pestilence. There's going to be earthquakes and famine, and the earth is just going to be in a turmoil. And so we will know when this earth gets into a big turmoil. And so he goes on then again, and the most important part, as Jesus directs us over to Daniel, that we understand that last 7 weeks. Okay, the start of that last 7 weeks is when the church is removed. And it starts when a covenant is confirmed. And that's, do I need to go into that real quick for you folks? Because we certainly can. We certainly can. Let me tell you right here. Right here. The prince of the people. Okay, this is the son of perdition. This is the one that Satan lends his power to. That prince, he shall come to destroy the city, the sanctuary, and thereof with the flood, and unto the end of the war desolations are determined. He shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. Here it is right here. Okay, so we know now that Jesus, Matthew 24:15, took us over to Daniel. Daniel told us about the 7 weeks, and now we understand that the prince of the people to come, the son of perdition, Satan lends his power to him for 3.5 years, his great authority and power. Okay, but in the midst of the week, and this is what Jesus was talking about in 24:15, in the midst of the week, he shall cause the sacrifice of oblation to cease. And this is the time then when Satan is released out of heaven, the war in heaven. Okay, he comes back down to the earth again. He joins up with this son of perdition, and that's the middle of the tribulation, and there's all your great big wars. That's where we're going to be fighting for supremacy of the world. And it's not going to be just Satan gets it. He's going to have to fight for it. And then we know the outcome, of course, at that point. All right, so what we've done is we've talked about when. We know the signs are here and we're seeing them. The end of the world, you've got this figured out. The tribulation is something a little bit different here. So now, let's get back into this whole Trump thing. Okay, because this is going to be specific. And Scripture helps to lend to our understanding here. All right. This is getting to be kind of a little bit interesting this whole last week as we see that Trump was wounded by an assassination attempt. Okay, so Trump is out there saying now, and he's selected his vice president. And America is the power of the world. It's supposed to be. They're the ones that keep the peace in the world. And we've gone awry. It's gone crazy. The Biden administration is not working. Trump stands an excellent chance of getting back in to be the president. But how does all that fit into Scripture? What is it that Trump is saying that he's going to do? He's going to unite everybody. And that includes the whole world. He says that he's going to bring in with his vision and his way of doing things to not only unite the world, to bring in peace in this world. Is that the peace and safety that Paul was talking about? No, it's not. And now allow me to explain. There's only one person that can bring peace and safety into this world, and that's God. Through the works of his Son. He's the one that's going to be doing it, not Trump. If Trump gets into office and this keeps on going, I've got it. I can see where it's going. But he's not going to be able to prevent what it is that God said is going to happen, which we just went over. Where does he fit in? How does all this fit into this world? When that sudden destruction comes, The church is going to be gone. This world is going to basically be a free-for-all. So we're going to have to rely upon Scripture to let us know how long this Trump thing is going to last. In my own opinion, not very long. Unless I've got it wrong, and maybe I do. Maybe I have it wrong, but no. We're at the time that Scripture said is what's going to happen. Trump is not going to bring in the peace into this world because God is going to interrupt all of this, and it has nothing to do with America. It has everything to do with Israel. This time is about Israel, not America being revamped again, and I'm sorry if that upsets people. But there's one of two things here. Either Scripture, we believe it, what the prophets are telling us, or we don't. If we don't, we're going to be confused. I don't know what this Trump thing is all about. I'm not confused at all. Just by having faith and believing in Scripture and what it says and the timing. And I've gone over that with you. And that's what this whole channel, website, has been about this whole time. Is when that last 7 years starts, the church is removed, a covenant with many is made and confirmed by the son of perdition. But when the rapture happens, remember, Satan and his angels are taken off this earth. They're up in heaven in a war with Michael. So the great deceiver of this world will be gone. So it's basically comes down to just this. And that is that God is going to prepare the land for Israel for them to build their temple and sacrifice. And I don't see any place in Scripture where it has something to do with the Trump movement that's taking place right now. As big as it is. Now, one last little piece of Scripture, folks, and I'm going to let you go. And I hope maybe this kind of cements things. And let me get right to it. Here it is. Matthew 24:3, we went over that. The servants came upon him and asked him, when, what, end of the world? Number 4, and Jesus answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you. How many of you have spent a lot of time in this last week just trying to figure this whole thing out with America? Where's America in Scripture? Don't see it. Only but 2 places do I see it. One is the young lions of Tarshish. And that's meant the 2 main powerful tribes of Israel. One remains in Britain and one remains in, or went and got and landed in America. So there's one place where you could basically see that America is in Scripture. The other place is when Satan returns mid-tribulation, the earth helps. It says the world helps to fight against Satan. That's one other place where America could be seen as having a power that's able to fight and keep Satan, when he returns, from obliterating Israel right at that point, or anybody else. Okay, so other than that, I don't see America in Scripture. Okay, let me wrap this up. You know when they say peace and safety, it's coming. You know what's going to happen. The church is going to be raptured. A covenant's going to be made, confirmed. The enemies of Israel are going to be removed by God, a divine intervention. Huge thing on this earth that's going to take place. So look now at what God said is going to happen, not what we're seeing happen with this Trump movement. Don't get carried away with it, folks. You don't have to go too far with it. If we make it all the way to the time of election, here, what is it, in November, we have the election. If we make it all the way to that point, I would be greatly surprised. I can't say completely surprised, but yeah, I guess it's possible. But see, everything in Scripture is lining up right now. It's here. Paul says, I need not have to write unto you for when they say peace and safety. Remember the war in Gaza with Hezbollah, with West Bank, with the Houthis, Yemen. Israel is showing its force, its might, its military. That's wonderful. But there's a time when God steps in. We know that in Micah, 1 Micah 3. God comes out of his place, steps in. What for? The sudden destruction. What's that all about? Eliminating the enemies. Where's America? It's not seen in Scripture, really. Not really. Some people will argue. I'll listen to it, but it doesn't hold water. I've heard the arguments. Most of them, I think. Folks, let me just reassure you. Sit tight. Watch, listen. Because it's only but around the corner. If I'm understanding Scripture correctly, and I'm giving that to you to decide, you don't take my word for it. I see what's coming, and it's not going to be long now, because Israel is where Asaph the prophet said we should be watching for. Good? Until next Sunday or something else comes up in between, folks. Grateful to all of you and my times that I have with you and have spent with you, not only in the replies but in my emails. It's much appreciated. I appreciate the fellowship, something I enjoy here. Until next Sunday, folks, thank you for stopping in.